a time in my relationship when I thought my boyfriend had fell out of love with me. I mean, he went days without touching me or kissing me. I felt like he was being very distant and unloving. I wanted to know how my boyfriend would react if I left without telling him anything. So I wrote him a letter saying that I was tired of him and I didn't want to live with him anymore. I knew it was real petty and real childish for me to write this letter, but baby, I needed to know how my boyfriend really felt about me. I mean, it was like a prank or something, right? So after I wrote the letter, I sat the letter on our nightstand next to our bed so he could easily find it, because that's where he put his watch after he takes it off his wrist. Anyways, I climbed up under our bed and I hid until he got home. I was hoping that he was going to be really upset when he found that letter and he see that I'm not home. About 10 minutes later, I heard my boyfriend walk through the front door and he was walking towards our bedroom. I'm peeking from up under the bed and I seen him grab the letter and he read it. After a little bit of silence, he grabbed a pen and he wrote something down on the letter. Now I'm wondering what could he have added to this letter. Then I seen him head to our closet and he was getting all dressed up. While he was doing that, he seemed happy. He was bouncing around the room, dancing and singing. Baby, I ain't gonna lie, I was getting hurt. My feelings was getting hurt, okay? I'm thinking to myself, why isn't he heartbroken? But things only got worse. My boyfriend picked up his phone and he started to dial a number. So I started to tune in to see who he was calling. I heard him talking on the phone and he said, "Hey, sweetheart, I'm just changing my clothes. I'll be there in a little bit." I heard that and I was like, oh, no wonder why he wasn't heartbroken. Tears started to fall down my eyes. Before he hung up the phone, he said, "I think my girlfriend finally found out that I was cheating on her, so she left." He said, "I wish I had met you before I met her." And then he hung up the phone. After that, he walked out the room. I heard our front door open and then close, so my boyfriend was gone. That's when I climbed out from under the bed. I wanted to see what my cheating boyfriend wrote on this letter. So I read the letter and it said, "I seen your feet up under the bed, you idiot. I'm going out to buy eggs." So my cousin just had a baby and her baby was born without ears. And she wanted the family to come to the hospital and see her baby. So I told her that I was going to wait until my little sister got out of school and we was going to come up there and sit with her for a little while. But the thing about my little sister is she has no filter and she don't care what comes out her mouth. So when she got out of school, I explained to her that our cousin just had her baby and she wanted us to go see her baby. My sister was excited. I seen the big smile on her face. She went to her bedroom and she sat her backpack down on her bed and she started heading towards the front door. She noticed that I wasn't going out the front door with her. So she turned around and looked at me and she said, "Well, what are you waiting for? I'm ready to go see the baby." I told her to sit down so I can explain something to her. So we sat down on the couch and I told her that the baby was born without no ears. I could tell by the look on her face that she was trying to hold in her laugh. I pointed my finger in her face and I said, "Look here, if you say anything about the baby's ears, when we get home, you are getting a spanking." She looked at me and she said, "I promise I won't say anything." So I guess we had an understanding and we went up to the hospital to see the baby. When we got there, my little sister took no time to ask our cousin could she hold the baby. I stood there looking at my little sister, staring her down to remind her of the agreement that we made before we left the house. So while my little sister is holding the baby, she said, "What a lovely baby. He has lovely feet and little tiny hands." She said, "And his skin is so smooth. But how is his eyesight?" My cousin said, "The doctor said his eyesight is perfect." My little sister said, "That's good because he'd be fucked if he needed glasses." I remember the first time I met my boyfriend's family. They had a dinner at their house. And to my surprise, for dinner, they had pork chops and mac and cheese. Now, pork chops and mac and cheese is my favorite thing to eat. And I guess my boyfriend told his parents that. So we sat and ate dinner and everything was going fine. But one thing I forgot to tell my boyfriend was I'm lactose intolerant. So after that mac and cheese digested, I started to feel a lot of discomfort in my stomach. I had to let out a fart. But see, my farts are silent, so I just went ahead and let one out at the dinner table. My fart was still silent, but I guess the family heard a little psst. Before I could apologize, my boyfriend's father looked over at their dog, Diamond. His father started yelling at the dog. He said, "Now, Diamond." I was so relieved because he blamed the fart on the dog. So everybody is still sitting at the dinner table and we're all having a good conversation. But a couple minutes later, I felt another discomfort in my stomach. I had to fart again. This time I had a big smile on my face because my boyfriend's father was just going to blame the dog anyways. So I looked around and everybody is still laughing at one of my boyfriend's boyfriend's jokes, and I thought this is the perfect time to let out this fart. So I sat there and I let out a long, loud fart. Now my boyfriend's father looked at the dog again and he said, "Come on now, Diamond." That mac and cheese tore my stomach up, but I thought that was my last time farting. But a few minutes passed and I had to fart again. This time I didn't even think about it. I didn't even wait. I just let it rip. Once again, my boyfriend's father looked at the dog. Then he yelled, "Diamond, get away from that lady before she shits on you." I was a manager at Walmart, and I remember one day one of our employees didn't show up for work. And he was our best employee. He never missed a day of work. So I got concerned and I decided to give him a call to see if everything was okay. So I dialed his home phone number and somebody answered the phone. I said, "Hello." I discovered it was a child who answered the phone because she whispered, "Hello." I said, "Hey, sweetheart, is your father at home?" She was still whispering and she said, "Yes." I said, "Can you please hand your father the phone? I need to talk to him." She whispered and she said, "No." So I was trying to get an adult on the phone. So I said, "Is your mommy at home?" For some reason, she's still whispering. She said, "Yes." I said, "Can I talk to your mommy, please?" Again, she whispered, "No." I know her parents wouldn't leave their child at home alone. So I asked the child, "Is there anyone else in your house?" She whispered and she said, "Yes, a policeman." So now I'm wondering, why is the police at my employee's house? I said, "Can I please speak to the police?" The little girl whispered and she said, "No, he's busy." I said, "He's busy doing what?" The little girl said, "Talking to my daddy and my mommy." Then all of a sudden I heard a helicopter in the background. I said, "Sweetheart, what is that noise?" She whispered and she said, "A helicopter." So now I'm really concerned. I started grabbing my things finna head to my employee's house. I asked the little girl, "What is going on over there?" She whispered and she said, "The search team just got out of the helicopter." So at this point I'm getting frustrated. I said, "What are they searching for?" She got silent for a minute and then she started giggling and she whispered, "Me." I used to work at a zoo, and one time this gorilla died of old age. The problem was this was the only gorilla in the zoo because the zoo couldn't afford no more gorillas. Now this gorilla was the most popular animal in the zoo, and people would pay a lot of money just to see this gorilla, so the zoo couldn't go another day without having a gorilla. So the zoo owner came up to me and he asked me, did I want to earn an extra $200 a day to put on a gorilla costume until they can afford another gorilla. Now without no hesitation I said yes. Pretty quickly, I became the most popular animal at that zoo, and everybody wanted to come and see me. They couldn't believe that the zoo actually had a human-like gorilla. Now, about a few months passed, and the attraction wore down. The owner kept pressuring me to find a way to get these people attention. So, to get people's attention, I climbed up a tree, and I started hanging on a tree branch upside down, and I started swinging back and forth. But the problem was the tree branch was hanging over the lion's den. All of a sudden, there was this massive crowd of people and they kept cheering me on. So I kept swinging back and forth. But all of a sudden, I started losing my grip and I get scared. So I started screaming for help. No one came to help and I fell right in the lion's den. All of a sudden, this lion creeps up right behind me. And he whispers, "Shut up before you get us all fired." My pastor and his wife got 9 kids, but the problem is my pastor never calls his wife by her name. He don't even call her wife. Y'all, he calls her mother of 9. And trust me, she hates it. There was one time at church where he was talking about how a husband is supposed to honor his wife. And then he pointed his wife out in front of the whole church. And he said, "I'll always honor my mother of 9. I could tell by the look on her face that she was very embarrassed. But anyways, one day after church, a handful of us went out to eat, including the pastor and his wife. After we got done eating, it was about time for all of us to go. The pastor stood up and looked at his wife and he said, "Come on, mother of 9. His wife started smiling out of nowhere. And for her to be smiling right now is a little bit confusing because I know she hates being called mother of 9. But anyway, she picked her purse up off the floor and she pulled a piece of paper out of her purse. And she opened it and then she slammed it on the table. Y'all, it was a DNA test. And then she stood up and said, "I'm right behind you, father of 4. I had a strong feeling that my boyfriend was cheating on me, so I lied to him. I told him that I was going with my family on vacation for a couple of days and I wouldn't be home. I packed my bags and called an Uber like I was going to the airport, but I was really going to my homegirl's house. I get to my homegirl's house and obviously she's confused. She don't know what's going on. She don't know why I'm there. But then I started explaining the whole situation and she started understanding me. Because you know she's my ride or die. I told her that I was going back home around midnight to see if I can catch him in the act, and I asked her to be my witness. And of course, she said yeah. Anyways, midnight hit, and the first thing I do is go back to my house, but I go in the back of my house and go into the shed, and I grabbed a baseball bat. I went back to the car to get my friend, and when we got in the house, we started tiptoeing up to my bedroom. Anyways, when we get to my room, my homegirl, she turned on the lights, and I went over to my bed, and I yanked the blankets back. And I was right, because there my boyfriend was, laying up with another woman. My boyfriend sees the baseball bat, and he immediately started begging me. He was like, please don't do this. He said, I will start explaining everything. So I picked up my baseball bat, and I said, you got 2 minutes. He told me that she's the one that bailed him out of jail, and she's the one that pays for his weekly haircuts, and she just bought him a new car. I started shaking my head, but I lowered the baseball bat and I looked at my homegirl. And I asked her, I said, what would you do in my situation? She looked at me, and then she walked over to my bed and covered the girl back up with the blanket. She said we wouldn't want her to catch a cold.